Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. It's absolutely amazing to have you here. Now, in my last video, I talked about what it was to use Procreate for the first time, and as promised, this week's video is going to be on what the last 6 to 7 days has been of me using it. There are a lot of things learned, and that's going to be basically what we talk about today. But before we begin, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment what you think. I really appreciate those who comment and just anyone who watches these videos. This is something that I'm trying to build slowly by slowly, and hopefully, it will be able to get somewhere. Also, if you want to follow like my art, like the art that I make almost daily, like the art that I post almost daily, be sure to follow me on Instagram. All links will be in the description below. And if you are a podcast listener or a newsletter reader, I have a podcast and a newsletter called the Yodaverse, where I discuss quite a variety of topics, and a newsletter with the same name on Substack that you can subscribe to. Link also below, and everything else is down there. I have a free Patreon as well that I want to keep active, and a Ko-fi if you want to support the channel in that way. But anyway, what has Procreate been the last week? It's been tough.
They ask you how you are, you just have to say that you're fine when you're not really fine, but you just can't get into it because they would never understand.
I must admit, as I mentioned in the last video, you saw the piece I was doing with, the eye with the heart pupil. That was tedious. It took me roughly 3-ish hours. I have never sat down and drawn for that long. So, what did I learn from this experience? Well, first of all, I learned to be patient with myself. I learned that progress isn't built on perfection. That's what I've learned through using Procreate the last 1 week. Now, in terms of tools, I feel like I was able to, as the week went on, I was able to curate for myself a list of tools that make my work easier, because as I mentioned last week, my pencil has no pressure sensitivity, and so being able to sort of customize my workflow enough that I'm still able to create art even with that issue, the kind of art I want to create even with that issue. So there were some struggles, definitely, because I tried rendering skin for the first time yesterday, and the pressure sensitivity issue stuck out the most there, and there was a lot of going back and redoing and going back and redoing. And that could possibly be, a next short video. I'll do like a 2 or 3 minute video after this on what my experience rendering skin was, because that's an entire story in and of itself. But some of the things that I was excited to try is it's not my first time doing digital art. It's my first time using Procreate. And when I started digital art, as I mentioned last time, I was using a Wacom tablet, and this time using Procreate on the iPad. The difference is immediate. The best experience of all, regardless of pressure issues, regardless of the difficulty of painting some things, the best feeling of all was just being able to draw on a screen, because you know that if you use a graphics tablet, the hand-eye coordination is extremely difficult, and that encapsulates what the experience has been. There's probably time lapses of some of the pieces that I've worked on in the past week, playing right now, and I feel like I have been able to utilize it well. I think I've done 11 to 15 drawings over the past week, which which I feel is good. Yeah, but obviously I do miss the what I could call like the brush control that pencil and pen give you. And I did do one pen sketch. I'm still yet to do many more this week. I did one pen sketch. Actually, I did more than one. I did 2 to 3 pen sketches this week just to get myself, down to earth. And another thing I wanted to do for this video, which I forgot to mention in the introduction, but I wanted to do another art talk. So in summary, for Procreate, I feel like I still have a lot to learn, but being able to customize my workflow with my custom brushes, I was able to customize a sketching brush for myself, playing with the opacity sliders, playing with the size sliders as I go along. And I was able to learn a bunch of cool stuff, and I'm so happy that the clipping masks work the way clipping masks are supposed to work, because in an application like Affinity Photo, which is what I started digital art on initially, it was very, very tough to get something as simple as a clipping mask going, and as a painter or an artist, you know how important that is. So playing around with those things was absolutely amazing, time consuming at times. There's some pieces that I stuck on to 2-3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours on some, like the rendering one that I'm going to show you in the next video. But overall, an amazing experience, and I hope to learn a lot. By the way, if you're experienced in Procreate or in art in general, and you have anything that you'd want me to try, like art challenges and all that, just to make this channel more, vibrant. I don't want to just be talking while time lapses are playing. I want to actually be doing something with you guys. And so something I forgot to mention in the intro is this is like an art talk 2, which is probably already in the title. And what I wanted to talk about is something that I was reflecting on this week. I was watching an art video yesterday. I forget the name of the artist who made the video. I had his name in my head like 2 seconds ago, but anyway, he was just talking about 5 art habits that are making him a better artist. He's a concept artist and illustrator, and in the video at some point he also shared about not being too hard on yourself, which is something that I sort of touched on last week in the first art talk video. Not being too hard on yourself and being able to just give yourself time to learn. Use every opportunity as a stepping stone. And that's sort of what I want to talk about today, is why you don't have to be perfect to start, because no one is perfect. Your art will never be perfect. You hear professional artists always saying, they're improving and, they're forever learners and stuff like that. When I first opened Procreate, I was extremely overwhelmed because, so many tools, brushes, etc. And instead of thinking, what can I create with this? The first thought I had was, what if I mess this all up? Like, what if I make a mistake on the first try? And now that I think about it a week later, that was the completely wrong mindset to have. And now my mindset is you don't have to be perfect to start, and every single step that you take in your art journey, whether digitally or traditionally, is a step towards whatever goal that you have. Like, my goal is to be able to be a character designer and 2D animator, storyboarder, and everything else in between, even concept art and all that. And also to be able to, make my comics and illustrate the stories that I have. Originally, I am more of a writer, and I write a lot of stories. I have so many work in progress stories and a few finished stories as well. And I just feel like, the overall experience of being able to do that eventually is worth the pain and failures of today. And I used to think that I needed to be good enough to be able to start something. But then again, you can't be good enough if you've not started the thing. which is the irony with the way human psychology works, is that we beat ourselves up before the fight, if that makes sense. And what that then does is that it already stops you from making progress, at least like mentally stops you from making progress, because you're always thinking, I need to be better, I need to be better, I need to be better. But you're not thinking of it in the positive way of, I'm still learning and I need to be better, but think about it as, why doesn't this piece look perfect? The reason why it doesn't look perfect is because it isn't. And no piece is perfect. I admire so many artists online, some of which I've even reached out to personally, and even they still say that they're learning things, they're still, drawing boxes, practicing perspective. A lot of artists, professional artists, haven't even mastered everything. They've mastered the basics, but there's still some things that they don't know. There are some character designers who can't draw realistically, and there are some realism artists who can't do character design, and vice versa. So you don't have to learn everything, and nothing you do has to be perfect. Art is like boxing or running or writing. It takes practice, and you're never perfect when you start. I can testify because I do boxing and I do running and I do writing, and I know that I was not perfect when I started, but that's really what matters. I feel is the imperfection in you is going to make the perfecting of that skill much better and much sweeter. Because if you're perfect when you started, what was the point of starting? You might as well have just gone directly to the end goal instead of beginning from somewhere. And everyone likes quote unquote an underdog story, where you start knowing nothing and you emerge knowing enough to be able to navigate the situation that you are in. So I hope that resonated with you, and that anything I said made sense in any way. I am really passionate about inspiration. I believe that that's part of my purpose here in general, is to just inspire people and just talk about positive stuff. I feel like the world has a lot of negativity in general, and being positive about yourself and your art, I feel, can really help you become a better person in general, even outside of your artistic skill. And that will be it for me today. Again, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment your thoughts, questions, and also any suggestions for any art challenges you want me to do. I want to try and make like a focus plan of sorts. I'm still learning the basics of Procreate and being able to navigate it. But just like I did with the rendering thing yesterday, I want to learn how to render hair and all these other things. And then eventually character design. So any character design related challenges, whether it's drawing an original character from a word prompt, or doing the pause art challenge, or whatever other challenges, or it could be any other topic that you guys would want me to talk about, draw, or cover on this channel. Again, be sure to follow on Instagram if you want to follow my art directly. And lastly, before I finish, I have a mini comic called Pip and Percy. As I mentioned earlier, I love to inspire people, and that's what the comic is about. It's two little birds, a pigeon and a sparrow, just talking about the issues of life, but from the perspective of two birds. And I've done a reel on this, and the comic is up on Webtoon. Link in the description below. I'd really appreciate you reading it. It has 3 episodes out as of now, and I've scripted the close to 60 other episodes, but I've not gotten the time to be able to sit down and work on them, because I want these ones to be longer. The current ones are around 6 panels long, which is very short, like 2 scrolls and you're done. But I want these ones to be quite longer and more engaging, with deeper scripts addressing deeper issues, but from that perspective. And again, I really, really appreciate your support, each and every one of you. And don't forget to smile, stay positive, keep creating, and I will see you in the next video. Take care.